Okay, so now we are looking at an example where we're adding two functions and we're letting one be the value of x that we want to use. But the only definition of the functions is by a graph. So if you look at this graph, you can see that f is represented by the red graph and g is represented by the blue graph. We're going to use these to help us find our answer. So we have f plus g of 1. Remember, 1 is the value of x that we want to use. So we can rewrite this as f of 1 plus g of 1. So we need to find each value. Let's first look at f of 1. So when you're dealing with graphs, remember 1 is our value of x. F of 1 represents a y value on a graph. So f, the function f, is the red graph. Let's look up f of 1. If we look up 1 on the x-axis, we have it right there. There's 1. So f of 1, we come right up here, and it's the red. That's our point. F of 1 is the y value, which is also 1. So that's f of 1. Now let's look for g of 1. So we're looking up g, which is the blue graph. So when we look up the x at 1, so here we are still, but let's find what g of 1 is. It's up on the blue graph. It'll be right up here, and that's at the number 3. So we have 1 plus 3 is 4. This is how we use the graphs to help us find our answer. Here we have f minus g of 3. So let's rewrite it first. F of 3 minus g of 3. And just like the last example, we're going to use our graph, the same graph. This time our x is 3, so let's find f of 3. So our x value is 3, right here. So f of 3, remember f is the red, so when x is 3, we go up, and there's our point. Remember, f of 3 is the y value, so f of 3 would equal 1. Let's find the same for g of 3. Okay, we're still finding the same x value, which is 3, but g, remember, is the blue function, so when x is 3, we went over and we found 3. But this means we have to go down. Looks like it's right here. It looks like that's at the value of y equals negative 5. So we basically have 1 minus negative 5, which is 1 plus 5, which is 6. So in this example, we are multiplying f times g of 0, so that would be f of 0 times g of 0. So just like the last example, let's use our graph. Let's first find f of 0. So we have x equals 0, which is right in the middle. Our f function is the red function, so let's find the y value. When x is 0, we go up, and we find right there. That looks like that is at y equals 4. Now let's do the same for g. So when x equals 0, the g is the blue function. We go up. Looks like it's at the same point. So g of 0 is also 4. Therefore, 4 times 4 is 16. That's our answer. All right, so now we're going to look at an example of a composite function. So I'm going to rewrite it first. This is f of 2. Remember how this works. We work inside out or from right to left. So we're going to take 2 and plug it into f first. Then we'll plug it back into f again. So let's look at f of 2 first. Using our graph, our x value is 2, and f is represented by the red graph. So when x equals 2, y equals 0, right there at the point. So f of 2 equals 0. Okay, so we got 0. I'm going to replace it right there. So here we go again. We're going to now find f of 0. So now our x value, our new x value is 0. So let's come over to the graph. When x is 0, right here, right in the center, f, where's our y value? And f is the red graph. So it's 0. Let's go find the point on the red function. It's right there. That looks like that's at positive 4. So my answer is positive 4. All right, for this example, we have another composite function. We're starting with the value x is negative 1. And remember how this works. We can work from the right side back to the left. So I'm first going to take negative 1, and we're going to plug it into g. So I'm going to write it right here. Let's find g of negative 1 using the graph. Now remember, g is represented by the blue graph, and our x in this case is negative 1. So let's find the point on the graph. Remember, g of negative 1 is your y value. So when x is negative 1, let's go over here. Here's negative 1 right there. G is right here up at positive 3. So g of negative 1 is positive 3. Now, so we got 3. Now we're going to take 3, right, and we're going to plug it into f. So let's find f of 3. Now let's look at it again. We're talking about f, and f is represented by the red graph. In this case, we're going to take our x value to be 3. So let's find it over here. When x equals 3, we have it right here. And let's find the point on the function f, which is the red. So at x equals 3, we get the point right here. Our y value is positive 1. So f of 3 equals 1. And one more time, we're going to plug it back in. We work from right to left. So this time, we are plugging it into g. Again, so g of 1. Let's find it on the graph. So our x in this case is 1. So if we start at 0, we go over to x equals 1. Let's find the point on the graph g. Remember, g is the blue graph. So at x equals 1, y equals the value of 3. My answer is 3. So just to recap, we took negative 1, we plugged it into g, and we got 3. Then we plugged 3 into f, we got 1. And then we plugged 1 back into g, and this gave us the number 3. 3 was our final answer.